Hello everyone, welcome to Elliott Wave Cafe. I wanted to make a video about how to count corrections in Elliott Wave, and especially complex corrections. It's something that I've done before. You can probably find it in my channel, but I think this is a pretty good example of a nice kind of a setup here, a nice market where you can. I mean, it's a kind of a pleasure to watch what it means to, to see and to try to count, for that matter, a corrective pattern in Elliott Wave, a complex corrective pattern. So, it's a very simple process in here, right? And if you're just beginning, you're probably familiar. You have impulsive waves and then you have corrective waves, and pretty much, that's all you need to know when it comes to Elliott Wave. And, if you start from these lows and you go to the top here, you can pretty clearly see that that's an impulse, right? Now, I'm kind of ignoring the move from here to the lows because that's kind of where this market started. And, there is no point in counting something that, started high and went low. You want to start your count from the lowest point on the chart. So, if I'm looking from these lows to these highs here, you can see a nice impulsive structure. And it's a big difference from how this looks, where you have a bunch of waves in here that kind of go inside each other, overlap. They're very, very messy, choppy. And this one in here, it's pretty straightforward, right? You're starting and you're aggressively moving to the upside. So that's a clean impulse. And this is a clean correction. So this is, you can ask for anything more, from the difference between the two. So this is clearly something that you can distinguish, and you should look in all your charts to find, impulsive moves and find corrective moves. So now, let's just, before we jump over into counting this corrective, let's just kind of look at this impulse and see, how we can identify an impulse over here. So basically I'm looking and I see the way I usually look at the markets. It's and that's why I'm kind of doing this live, and I want you to kind of see how I'm digesting and I'm breaking apart these wave structures. So for example, I'm looking for corrections to see where the corrections are in a sequence, and I see something happening up here. And then I see something right there, right? These are kind of the biggest ones that I have in this sequence. And then I have a big corrective mess right there. And then, I have some smaller ones back in here. Now, the other thing that I look for in an impulse, it is, what's the strongest part of a wave? Right? That tells me that that's the third wave advance usually, right? When you see a move that's moving strongly up and it's kind of, directional and clean, I'm trying to see what part of the sequence that starts here then goes to the top. It's a big impulsive move. And to me, we have a couple of them, right? We have something right here, right? That's pretty strong. And then we're losing a little bit of momentum as we're climbing. And then I have a few more here. I have this one and I have this one that are kind of the strongest ones, the strongest impulses. And then the market kind of starts to die off. So when I see this type of a move, I'm excited. When I see this type of a move, I'm cautious. Okay. So now let's kind of start from the lows and go up here. So if I look, from this low, I can see that we're moving up, and then we have a little correction here. So that could be a wave 1, 2. That's the largest sequence in here, right? So that's possibly, another third wave, right? And then I'm getting a correction. But I do see there is another small wave in here. So, if you start from this low to this high, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's gotta be a third wave, right? Well, if that's a third, then I start from the low here and go in a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I go in 5 here. And I go in a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I complete a wave 1 of those lows. That's kind of my best interpretation. 1, 2, 1, 2, third of a third. That's the most powerful sequence. And then you go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, and 5 all the way up there, right? In a 1, 2, 3, 4. This could be a flat in 4. And then up in 5, or you can have this as a 4 right there, the small one, and then you can go 1, 2, 3, triangle in 4 and in 5, and you complete a wave sequence, right? So you go basically a wave 1 of those lows. Then you come down in 2, that's a deep 2, maybe somewhere near 50% of this entire move, and then you go up in another sequence in here, and you go, and this whole thing here should be a third wave, all the way up there. So you can go, let's say here, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5. So let me just do this a little bit so I don't lose track. So the way I usually do it is I go back in here and I go and I count. So we established that that's a wave 1. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's a wave 1. That's a wave 2. Right, I'm looking at this thing here as being a larger third wave. So you go in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see here. Third, triangle in 4, and then a finish move up there in a wave 5. So now let's see here if we can see a sequence inside this. So this, let's see, even if you go in an A, B, C, D, and E, well, that's a little bit too much, but hold on a second. Let's just go fourth wave there, triangle. Because that's a big mess, and then you push higher in this kind of final fifth wave. Sure, I mean, wave 1 was long, wave 3 was long, so wave 5, it's kind of short. So now we got to have a sequence that's inside this move. So let's go like this, and we start from the lows, and this is the beginning of the wave 1. And then I have, let's say, a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I got it. So 1, 2, so I got to have a 3, a 4 here, and a 5. Okay, so now that's the strongest wave. Let's see, that's a second wave right there. Okay, and then you go inside this one and you look 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1. Let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 4 and 5, 4 and 5. Let me just give me a second. Let me make this a little bit bigger so I can see the structures inside. So that's the wave 1 of the lows. I'm placing the second right there. Then I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means that this third wave is there. This fourth wave is here. And then I'm getting a 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, D, and E for a triangle. This D wave is slightly higher there. That's a little bit of a problem, but I think this is accurate. I think this is the best interpretation I can have. I mean, you can come up with something else, but this is, you know, a way I would kind of count this impulse to kind of give me a satisfaction that, you know, I'm properly, you know, dissecting this in the proper way, you know. So even if you're looking at this thing as being, let's say, 1, 2, 3, and then you have, if it finishes there, because you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so you have an A, B, C in here, and then a fifth wave. So it's still fine by kind of moving from, you know, considering, let's see, I'll do it like this, 3, 4, and 5, like that. See what I did there? Okay, you get a flat in this A, B down in C, and this fourth wave, and then you're pushing up higher there. So again, you can, I mean, since this is fractal, you can go inside every single one of these waves and then find those subdivisions. And you go in here and you put 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I think I got a little mess right in there. Just make this a little bit bigger. There you go. That's a 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 3, 4, and 5, 4, and 5. So it is, you know, it is kind of the, you know, the kind of the basic look that I would kind of have this on. And you can see a very deep second wave, and then a pretty much kind of sideways consolidation here in this fourth wave, like a triangle in here, with a loss of momentum, You have nice guidelines of alternation here, and then you push higher in this fifth wave. So now, since then, you have the next mess on your hands, which is, and let me just kind of do this as well, just so we're kind of clear. So I said that that's a wave 1 extended, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and wave 5. So this is how you have, this wave 1 formed. And then if you look inside this one, you can see, right, that you have your 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 right there. So, this, I think it's a decent approach, a decent count. I mean, you can argue about, maybe a little bit some of these internals, but it's nothing. I think it's something that is, pretty straightforward. So now from these levels, you go back and take a look at the correction. And, you're not always going to be, let's say, this lucky that you're going to come into this chart and see that this formation is very long. Maybe you come when, only this is present, right? You've only come down to, and you're trying to scramble to say, well, when is this correction going to be finished? And then the market goes up, and then it doesn't do anything, and then it comes back down, and then it comes back down some more. So, but, this is kind of what you have to work with. And the longer this is, the better chances you have at kind of identifying this more correctly. And, you have more data to kind of work with. So the second thing that I'm looking at when I look at corrections, when I look at corrections, this was an impulse, is that, I'm looking for the swings to kind of see where those are, right? And I want to see, where was the failure in this market? And what does that mean? And usually what I do is I go and I take either an X wave or I take a B wave, and I'm trying to place them, up into these spots, and then see, usually I start with the B wave, and then I look for X wave. X wave are nothing else, just connector waves, right? X waves are something that connects an ABC structure to another ABC structure, let's say a W, you have a W, and then you have an X, and then you have a Y. So that W, it's an ABC, right? So, so what I do is I'm looking at these swings here, and I'm trying to identify and see, like, how does this make sense? This is a very long correction, and it doesn't look like I have a lot of impulses. And then I look at impulses as well. Like what of this mess here, it's an impulse? Well, I do see a little bit of an impulse here. I see an impulse right there, right? Then I see another impulse right there. Then I see another impulse here. Then I see another impulse right there. And then I see some impulse over here as well. Or two impulses. 1, 2, 3, right? So now that I'm kind of having my eyes of where it's an impulse and kind of what's a correction, now I'm trying to work with the rules of the Elliott wave and just try to identify this, right? So let's say that I place a B wave here. Let's start with the B, because this is just the first part of the correction, right? So it's already kind of, since it's so long, it's kind of hard for this to be already an X wave, although it could be, but, so let's look at this thing. So what if that's a B, and if that's an impulse, well, that's got to be a C wave. But I'm left with a big mess in here then, right? So let's start with this. Let's just move this B wave out of the way, and let me just kind of go with a correction with an ABC. So I'm going to start from there, and if that's a B, that means that this swing low here, it's a wave A. That's a wave B that we said, and then this is a wave C. Okay? So now, if I have an ABC and I still have stuff to work with in terms of a correction, what that does is that makes this a wave W. Makes it as a correction. Now, the problem that I have here, and it's actually not a problem, I'm looking at the next swing high. So let's see if this wave A makes sense. So let's just go and just see if this makes any sense. So if you look in here, you can see an impulse here in a 1, 2. You can see a 3 in here, right? And then you can have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then you have an A, B, and then up in C here in a flat. And then you follow by a, let me just kind of get rid of these lines. See, I'm trying to I'm trying to talk to you here to explain to you how I'm looking at this thing. So I'm going to go, I'm not even decompose it. I'm just going to go in a wave, let's say 1 in here, you know, a wave 2, a wave 3, a wave 4, and then a wave 5, right? So right there, I have no overlap between wave 4 and a wave 1, right? The wave 4 stops just shy of the wave 1, which is, you know, in Elliott wave, you can't really have that go inside the territory of the wave 1. Then you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here for a 3. And then you push higher here in a flat. You go up in 3, down in 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for a 4, which is like kind of right there. Okay, then you come down and you have a wave 5. So now that's an A, that's a B in there, right? It's a complex move. It's all overlapping, and it's a, you know, it's a crazy structure right there, right? So that's a B wave because it failed. Anything that kind of fails up there, it's either a B or an X wave. So that's a B, and then you come lower in this. Now, if this is a W, then you need an X, and then you need a Y, right? So let's do that. Let's just take my WXY. It's going to go in a combination here, and I'm going to go WX, and then, you know, we need a Y, right? So now, if this is a wave W here, right, then this is an X wave right there. So now, how do we count this X wave? Now, here's the issue that I have. I have an issue here. You can go, if you want, you can go in a X wave in a flat, and you can go, let's say, up in A, down in B. You know, you have an A, B, C here. So A, B, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for C, because remember, flats are 3, 3, 5. But you have a little bit of a problem. You have a problem that this fourth wave here comes into the territory of the wave 1. And this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this looks like it's, so I'm okay with this being a 5-wave move. So 1, 2, and then 3, and then a 4 and a 5. So you could do this. You could do in an A, B, and then up in C. And consider this an X wave, because that's a pretty big mess. Or what you can do is you can take this and move it over, right? And you get more of a cleaner look, because you're going to go here in a wave A, down in B, and then you go up in C for an X. So you go decompose this as a correction. So you go A, B, C, right? That's exactly kind of what I was talking about there, right? And then, so this is fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for A, down in B, and then, you know, up in C wave right in there. All right, now, but then you're asking, like, how is this a C wave? Well, C waves can be impulses, right? Or they can be ending diagonals. So you're going to go and look at this as an ending diagonal, and I'm going to decompose this. See, this is what's also nice about the Elliott wave, the motive wave, because you can decompose the structures if you need a little bit of help or you want to do it quicker without bringing your counting tool. You know, you just go decompose as an ending diagonal. But see, they're giving you a stupid count. That's not the right way. So you go in a 1 here. That's an impulse. You go up in 2. You go down in 3, up in 4, and then down in 5. So now you're doing the channel in there. And then you can see how wave 3, it's smaller than wave 5. Wave 5 is smaller than wave 3. So, and then you have ABC up there for a second. You have a zigzag in here, ABC for wave 1. Then you have another ABC here for wave 3. And then you have another ABC for a wave 5. So you can do that as well. I don't care which way you do it. Again, you can go as a flat as well, if that, you know, floats your boat a little better, you know, but you can also do this wave C as an ending diagonal with a sharp rally then in wave X. So you have wave A as an impulse up in B, so motive wave, corrective motive wave for a W. All right, now you go up in wave X, and now you're coming wave Y. Now, you know, wave Y has to be, right, either a, you know, either a zigzag in there, you know, either a, you know, a flat or a triangle. So what are we looking at here? Well, the simplest one that you would be, it would be that this is an AB down in C. Well, if that's the case, then you place wave Y here, and then you're left with this making a new low, which is a problem. Now, if you take this wave Y and put it here, you don't have 3 waves. Right? You have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then you have huge overlap. So we know that wave Y has to be made of 3 waves, or in rare occasions of 5 waves when you have a triangle, but that's not a triangle. So what do we do then? Well, we have a problem. And the problem is that we might need another X wave. So what I do is I basically take this and I'm looking at the swings here, and I say, well, if this is a wave Y and terminates here through this ABC, that means, I'm going to do this, I'm going to go A, B, C. Let me just get rid of the lines. That means that that's another X wave. So I need another X and another Z. So to make that easier, I'm going to delete this. Don't remove the child waves. And I'm going to go and bring my triple combo in there. Right. So I'm going to start again at the beginning, and I'm going to go start from there. That here it's our, was it ABC? That was our W right there. That was our X. That's our X. This was our Y. So let me just make this bigger the way it was before, and I'm going to change the degree on this. I'm going to go to, let's go to an intermediate. There you go. So you can kind of see it a little bit better. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for A, up in B, down in C for a W. I'm going to take these letters out of the way so they don't confuse you. Right there like that. So A, B, C, W, A, B, C for X in there. Okay. And then you have A, B, C for X. Then you have an A, B, C here for another wave X right there. A, B, and then up in C. And then, you know, so you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Very nice extended wave 1. And now you have a Z wave. Now, here's the question. What you're asking yourself, is this Z wave done or it's not done yet? If it's done and you're saying it is, then you got to have 3 waves inside it. So you're going to go decompose as a correction, and you can have an A, B down in C. And it's possibly that it's done, but it's kind of fairly short. I mean, look at the W, it's longer. Z, Y, it's a little bit shorter, and Z, it's a little bit even shorter, which means that the move is kind of running towards its end. Now, if it's not over, that means that, you know, and if you're thinking that it's going to do something like this, right, that means that you got to extend this and allow for an impulse in the wave A, which means that this hasn't finished yet. You're going to need a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for a wave A down. You're going to need a B, and then you're going to need another sell-off in this wave C. So let me just put these lines, preferences, show lines, and then you have them right there. Now, if the market moves above the 748, and even if it starts moving above the 620, because this would be wave 1 of wave A, and if you're getting a push out of there, that means you don't have a fourth anymore. So that means that this move here could be complete. So now this could extend into a triangle, right? And it could become, let's say, something more complex sideways. But I think if you're looking at the structure here, you're running towards the end of this correction. You're very close to the end. You might have maybe finished, or maybe, you know, let's say a couple of more months in here, 3 months or so. And then you can start to be done. And the moment you would move back above this X wave right there, above 1085, then very likely this correction would be finished. And you're starting to look higher. You can see none of these highs have been taken out. This B wave high has not been taken out. This X wave has not been taken out. This B wave has not been taken out. This one has not been taken out. So these are all lower highs in a trend. And here is a cool thing. Here is the coolest thing. You take your channeling and you put it there, and you start to go to have as many points of contact as possible. Let's say you go through the B, you go through the C, on the top of the B wave, and then you take that and put it at the bottom, and you can see how nicely, I'm going to make this, make it like that, and then make it a little bit bigger right there. You can see how nicely the price action is contained between parallel lines, which is one of the requirements when you have a nice correction. So now what I've identified is that that's an impulse. So it's very possible that there was a wave 1 right there. And I'm going to go, let's say, since this was, let's see here, let's go to a primary degree. So that possibly a primary, let's call it a primary degree right in there. This is intermediate. Oops. Right. So so that's a primary, that's the second wave down, which is intermediate correction. So that means that we need a second wave there. Right, and this would be at the primary degree, right there. So that's your 1, that's your 2, which means that eventually, either from here, you know, or maybe you do a B and a short C wave, or from there, you're going to start to push up higher here. Now you're going to ask, is this at a 1 and a 2 and you're going to get a 3? I don't know. This could be an A wave, and this could be a B wave, but you're still going to move up higher in a C wave, right? Which means that these highs back here are going to get taken out. The ones right there, right? Which are at about, let's say 2305. So 2303. So that would be the target to kind of push towards, to overtake it, to move to the upside in the next, in something that looks like this, in the next impulse. So it's getting a little bit long compared with this wave 1, right? So I don't know if we're going to get all the way back there. It's possible, but we're starting to get a little bit too large in here. So we better kind of start to move to the upside. But this is, you know, kind of my best interpretation here. And, you know, when I'm looking at this chart, and I actually have this saved as well, you know, in our, and actually you can see here, the third wave was back a little bit lower. Let me see if it's this in the same place. Yeah, it's in the same place, 3, 4, and 5. So, because I worked a little bit on this, and, you know, obviously I looked at it, you know, but this is kind of what I have it saved for, you know, the clients in the pro room as we were kind of going through this analysis, you know, a little bit earlier this week when I looked at, this is sushi, guys, just so you know, this is sushi swap. And, you know, I'm keeping an eye on it because it's an interesting one to maybe get involved in once we start to see that this correction, it's you know, it starts to move to the upside, and it starts to give us signs that this is possibly over and you're looking, you know, for the next larger rally up. So, I mean, could you start to accumulate here? Sure. But what if this falls apart and, you know, you're basically selling lower and this thing comes down to $1, right? And this is still, you know, some kind of disaster, and you know, this falls apart, and you know, listen, things happen in life. You know, projects go bankrupt all the time. I'm not saying sushi will, but you see many counts that just, you know, go and then they fade away, and then there's nothing to count anymore, right? So let's just kind of be a little bit safe and wait for a little bit of a rally in here and see what happens, and then buy a pullback, and you know, then you can look for this 23 level to get taken out. But anyway, this was listen, this was a live kind of exercise into wave counting, and I kind of walked you through, you know, what I'm thinking when I do counts, and kind of how I split them. Sometimes I spend, you know, some of them are easier, some of them are harder. But for me, for example, it doesn't necessarily, I don't necessarily have to go in all of this stuff. It's just for kind of learning purposes. But after you're doing this for many years or for a while, you're just going to say that's a wave 1 or a wave A, and then you're starting to see here that's a correction, and you can already tell it's a WXY or a WXYXZ, and then you have a little bit more, you know, and then, you know, when people ask you, well, how it's going on inside that wave, how it's what's going on inside that, then you kind of have to start to kind of really dive in. But, you know, a visual, it's, to me, it's very clean as well, right? Because that's a wave, that's an impulse, and that's a correction. Now, what else you can do is you can start to put some fibs in here, and you can see that you're actually coming at about 50% correction of this rally. And maybe, you know, you can come all the way to 61.8, and that would be at about $2, $2 to $3 in there. Maybe that'll be a better opportunity either, you know, still. But I think this correction, it's running towards its end. It's not towards its beginning, if you know what I mean. So I just did a video a few days ago, I think on Saturday, where I've talked about, you know, what to expect, you know, when you start to, and what it means proportions between waves. So here's a pretty cool thing, right? So just visually, look at that. I'm going to copy it and go right there. You can see that's proportion between sell-offs, right? And then if you thought that the correction was over here, that was a little bit of a short correction. All you've done an X wave up, and then you're correcting again. Okay, so that's what I mean by proportions between the waves. Okay, and you know, this one looks pretty good. It's a pretty good example, I must say. So look at the fibs as well. Kind of combine them with levels. Go ahead and work with channels as well in this corrections, because, you know, again, they're very, very important to kind of guide you. See, every time you kind of touch the bottom of this, you kind of start to do rallies. So it's interesting. Okay. And they help you out a lot. And this happens across all markets, stocks, commodities, everywhere. And, the moment you break below some of these channels, things are starting to look ugly, and, you might not want to, take a chance until things start to kind of clear up. Guys, this is my Elliott Wave Cafe. This is my Twitter. Please follow me on there and just, give this video a thumbs up and share it. I think it's going to be viewed because I think it's good information in there, and, regarding, what happens in structures. But, come visit me. I have a bunch of, interesting things here, guys. And it's, it's kind of fun. I don't have that many followers. I think I got about 435 people. I didn't start this that long ago. But, I'm kind of growing slowly. And then here is where there's a link here that takes you to my pro room if you wanted to talk about counts every single day and, look at markets, and I can, help with anything you've got, any coins or any stocks or stuff like that. But it's a pretty busy trading room, where we do a bunch of stuff and we take trades, and, we're watching Bitcoin right now as it's pulling back. So it's definitely interesting. So you can find me here at Elliott Cafe. That's my Twitter. I'm starting to be more active in there as well. But this takes you to my Telegram channel. And, you can give us a try for a month and see kind of how it is. I don't have any free trials, but, if you're serious about it, you're welcome. So, guys, I'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching. And I'll be talking to you soon. Have a great rest of the week. Bye-bye.